Right, so plugin organization and prioritization, also known as selective plugin loading, as well as a couple of other different names a couple of other different names that this goes by. And as all of the names imply, it allows you to load only the plugins that are needed for each page. So as it is with all things in WordPress, there is a way to get this done with code, but many times, in fact, there's an easier, more user-friendly way to get these things done with a plugin. And lo and behold, there is a plugin that can enable you to get this done. Hopefully, this is a feature that will one day be a part of WordPress's core, the core of WordPress itself. Why it isn't already is a bit of a mystery, but we can solve the problem, and that's by and large what plugins are out there to do to extend the functionality of your site. So what is the name of this plugin? Well, very simple. It is the plugin organizer. You search for that. And there it is. Let's take a look at the details for them. Oh, we don't even need to do that. It's everything we need to know about it is right here. This plugin enables you to do the following. Change the order that your plugins are loaded. Now, remember when we were talking about dependency issues? So, if you have if you have a bunch of plugins installed and you're having problems, particularly when you're attempting to aggregate, concatenate all of that JavaScript, and something is failing, you can change the load order. This plugin will enable you to change the order in which your plugins load. And many times that can solve dependency issues. Someone just simply needs to be loaded prior to or after whatever the problematic plugin is. You simply need to move it up or move it down in the load order, and that magically, in a lot of instances, will enable the plugin to function as it is supposed to. Function. Function. You can also selectively disable plugins by any post type or WordPress manage URL. So in other words, only load the plugins that we need on a page-by-page basis. Also, adds plugin grouping. Adds grouping to the plugin admin page. So we already have this installed. Where will it appear once we activate it? It'll appear over here. Let's go to settings real quick. Okay, and here you have just your general settings, and you're going to want to particularize this based on your needs. Some recommendations here, though, for fuzzy URL matching. What is that? Well, this gives any URL the ability to affect children of that URL. So it's not this is not the same as WordPress children. It is using the URL structure to determine children. So, in other words, our site /page will affect our site /page, and then all children pages, child pages, etc. So you're likely going to need to use that. Ignoring the URL protocol. This allows you to ignore the protocol, HTTP or HTTPS, of a URL when trying to match it in the database at page load time. With this turned on, that same example URL, our site /page, will have the same plugins loaded as HTTPS /page. If it is turned off, they can be set separately using plugin filters. We'll talk about what plugin filters are here in a moment. Ignoring the URL arguments. This allows you to ignore the arguments of a URL when trying to match it in the database at page load time. With this turned on, this address will have the same plugins loaded as this address. Only allow network admins to change plugin load order. That is entirely up to you. The custom post type support that you wish to apply would be done here. This is a list of registered post types on your WordPress install. Select the checkbox next to the post types that you would like to disable or enable plugins on. So you can fine-tune this auto trailing / When this option is turned on, Plugin Organizer will either remove or add a trailing slash to your plugin filter permalinks based on your permalink structure. If you're having issues with your plugin filters not matching, you can disable this. And then selective plugin loading. This is the primary reason why I'm recommending this plugin, so obviously I recommend you turn it on. It is its core function, essentially. And, well, as far as performance goes, to only load the plugins that are necessary on any given page will provide you the most profound performance boost offered by this plugin. Selective mobile plugin loading. So if you are using a mobile theme or a mobile version of your site, you can also select only specific plugins based on that mobile theme and mobile user agents. When this option is turned on, plugins will be disabled differently for mobile browsers. Selective plugin loading must be turned on before this will be applied. So not only can you optimize the plugins, the load order of plugins and which plugins are loading for your desktop theme, but also for your mobile site. We have this off. There's no difference. We're serving the full desktop version of our site to mobiles and are therefore not using this. If you want to selectively load plugins in the admin, you would use this final feature here and save your settings. Admin CSS is just, you can, whatever you want your colors to be. Here you would recreate permalinks if that is necessary. You'll want to check this out and see why you might want to do that if you don't already know. And this is your list of mobile user agents. This comes pre-populated and it's pretty complete. If, however, you have specific needs that are not in here, devices that are frequently used to frequently access your site, you will want to add them here and then save your user agents. Manage MU plugin file. This is your must-use plugins file. And let's go actually to the detail again and talk a little bit about that. So important. To enable selective plugin loading, this is the primary reason why we're using this plugin, you must move this file to here or wherever your MU plugins folder is located. If the MU plugins directory does not exist, you can create it. The plugin will attempt to create this directory, and most of the time it is successful, and move the file itself when activated. Depending on your file permissions, it may not be successful. So you may need to get into your hosting account and change your permissions such that this plugin can be enabled in the fashion that we want to enable it. You should not have any problems, though. But if you do, that is how you mitigate. Now your global plugins, everything that you enter here, and everything that you enter here will be enabled on each and every page globally, and then you can fine-tune on each and every page individually as if need be and as needed. Your global search plugins for the search results page. These are the plugins that would be activated or deactivated on the search results page. Now you do this for post type as too. A particular post type as well. Global settings for particular post types. Group and order plugins. Now this is where you can solve your dependency issues. This is where you're affecting load order. And this is cool. You drag and drop something. So if, for example, our WP estimation and payment forms was conflicting in some way with other plugins, and after some tinkering with this, we found that the load order, it simply needed to be up here. We would simply do that, and it would change the load order, the order in which our plugins are loaded, thereby solving dependency issues. Filter groups. Now, you would create your filter groups here. I'm not going to do a lengthy explanation of what this is because many of you won't need to use this because you're going to be dialing things in pretty basically, either globally or on a page-by-page basis. Your plugin filters. So we have one set up here for blog posts, So everything with this base URL, this permalink /blog, is making use of these plugins or not making use of them, whatever the case may be, and we are affecting all of the children of /blog, all of everything with page /blog, and there'd be another /, and then whatever the full address of the blog post would be is affected in this manner. By checking this box, the plugins disabled or enabled for this page will be used for its children if they have nothing set. So those are the basics. If we get into, I'm going to show you an example of what it looks like on a page. If you scroll down, you're getting a very similar looking thing. So on a page-by-page basis, post-by-post basis, you can activate or deactivate plugins. So very cool, huh? Only loading the plugins necessary on a page-by-page and post-by-post basis greatly decreases file size in some instances. For example, if you have if you're using a pop-up plugin and you're only using it on your home page, you obviously don't want to load those files on every single other page. It's unnecessary weight. Or for example, if you're using Slider Revolution Slider, some plugin developers are really forward thinking, and actually the developers of Slider Revolution are, and within that plugin's own user interface, you can choose whether or not you want to load the plugins, libraries, and files on selective pages. But most plugins are not that way, and most plugin developers are unfortunately not that forward thinking. So this will enable you to have that capacity. And there you have it. Those are the basics of plugin organization and prioritization. Selective plugin loading, a big deal when it comes to performance.